Cam Newton can return to dominant form, if he can master the art of the short passing game. Mike McCarnapp. Exactly 1 year ago today, the Carolina Panthers were coming off a 151 season and a Super Bowl appearance. And even after that title game loss, Cam Newton had endured 5 seasons of doubts and dog whistles to become the 2015 MVP, an unstoppable monster helming the league's deadliest offense, and he did it without a particularly good offensive line or receiving core. The Panthers were a blue and silver end zone party and Big Cam's smile was infectious. Yes, 365 days ago, the haters and doubters were left sputtering, and if you had Newton as anything other than your number 1 QB for fantasy football, you were certifiable. And now HES kind of an afterthought. Newton's range of possible outcomes in 2017 is Superman-sized. I studied his 2016 film this summer to get a sense of what went wrong last year and whether it's reversible, and I have to admit I'm not sure. If they're smart, the Panthers will prolong their best player's career by removing some injury risk from his game, but in the process they may also take away the only thing at which helps extraordinary. A Newton resurgence could tip the balance of power in the NFC South and in fantasy leagues, but how likely is such a recovery if he runs less? Based on my game tape evaluation, here are the best and worst case scenarios for Cam Newton in 2017. Best case scenario: the Panthers need a refresh. It's not just about whether Newton runs a ton of the zone read keepers that have historically given defenses fits and opened up everything else. It's also the downfield bombing attack, which requires Newton to stand in the pocket for eons. He's perennially top 10 in time per play spent in the pocket, and last year he tied Jameis Winston for the league's highest air yards per attempt. Carolina's pass game has been extraordinarily vertical, which in today's NFL is actually the current fashion. The addition of rookie running back Christian McCaffrey could help change that. McCaffrey is small and might not last if the Panthers slam him directly into the line 15+ times per game, but in my eyes HES a Brian Westbrook clone who's the perfect all-around weapon. Line him up in the slot and out wide, put him in the backfield alongside Jonathan Stewart, get him the ball with his momentum turned upfield and take advantage of his crazy quickness. McCaffrey's detractors fret about a Panther system that only threw 64 passes to running backs last year, fewest in the NFL. I say you drafted McCaffrey to change that. Carolina needs more West Coast concepts to stretch the field horizontally. Provided Newton has the timing and accuracy to transition to a somewhat quicker hitting attack, looking more like the Patriots or Packers will create the same kind of defensive honesty Newton's running has traditionally done. And even if the Panthers decide to let Newton run less out of the zone read, he had 35 keeper zone read runs in 2015 and only 20 last year, only 10 of which came after a Week 4 concussion. If the offense gets dangerous again, Newton will rack up goal line scores. He's just so big. Worst case scenario: the reason Carolina HASNT operated a horizontal attack through the first 6 seasons of Newton's career is that it HASNT suited him. He's got a huge arm, a durable frame and perhaps an unwise amount of courage, but Newton HASNT shown he can consistently fit passes into tight windows. Too many passes hit receivers' feet or sail over their heads because Newton's foot mechanics are inconsistent. And without improvement in that area, I fear the big guy can't be great without the running game of his relative youth. After watching his film, I don't think these limitations are about inability to read the field. Newton mostly does a fine job knowing where to go with the ball. He sees and feels the blitz well, and doesn't make an inordinate number of mistakes in the regular flow of his offense. And actually, it's painting with too broad a brush to say Cam Newton is inaccurate. Actually, when he puts loft on the ball, he can be extraordinary. HES got excellent deep ball touch. But on zip throws, HES wilder. And so a few things can go wrong with Cam Newton this season. If the Panthers stay on the same path, continue with a primarily vertical passing game but limit Newton's rushing the way they did after the first month of last year, I fear Newton won't show much more consistency than he did in 2016. And last year, if you take away the fantasy points Newton accrued via his 359 rushing yards and 5 rushing TDs, he'd have finished between Trevor Siemian and Brock Osweiler on the fantasy rolls. Also, Newton is recovering from rotator cuff surgery and didn't play much in the preseason, so even if the Panthers do plan on a different kind of attack, it's hard to imagine the big QB is entirely comfortable in it. a more horizontal attack and cover for a porous offensive line, but Carolina is relying on new left tackle Matt Kalil to recapture form he hasn't displayed in 4 seasons. And second-round rookie wideout Curtis Samuel, widely viewed as part of a new emphasis on shorter, quicker plays, bombed hard in training camp and may be limited to special teams to begin the season. Conclusion. Despite Newton's own protests to the contrary, there's decent evidence that his days of rushing for 600-plus yards every year are behind him. Since 1979, only one QB aged 28 or older has eclipsed 600 rush yards or 5 rush TDs, Michael Vick in 2010. And seeing how infrequently Newton was given scripted options to run after his injury last year only highlights that potential rushing downturn. So, Big Cam's path to fantasy excellence and his path to leading a championship-level team again may come down to his adaptability. If he can throw short quickly and accurately, inject a little Alex Smith into his Dan Marino act, he could experience a fun bounce back. If not, someone will be standing on Superman's cape. Read more on the NFL. The making of Colin Kaepernick, how a quarterback without a team became the most talked about man in the NFL. Can the Patriots contain the Chiefs? Tyreek Hill Week 1 Power Rankings and ATS Picks. Browns Myles Garrett, the #1 draft pick, will miss the opener. The Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders.